I mean to say it infects us in our most basic integrity. It says we can't be moral without Big Brother, without a totalitarian permission. You're a child made in the image of God. Oh no, you're not. You're a faggot. And you can't join your church and you can't go to heaven. This is disgraceful. It's inhuman.
Okay, so this is part 2 of the article that I'm reading, Why I'm Angry, an Anti-Theists 78 Reasons, written by Peter Mosley on February 8th, 2015. I wanted to say that those videos I included with part 1 were the videos that he includes in his article. That is why they were included. I didn't really pay attention. I didn't really watch the videos when I put them in. If I had, I might not have included them all, because some of them I was kind of thinking after I put the video together and watched it myself, not necessarily that important to the video, and kind of made it a very long video. Also, the last one with Christopher Hitchens ends abruptly. I thought that was rather odd. It's like, did the whole thing not... Anyway, so I'm not going to redo the video, but I'm a little bit annoyed that I didn't pay more attention when I put that one together. So, okay, part 2, we're going to start with reason number 21. I am angry that due to years of being brainwashed by Christian ideology, you are given several trigger words put in your mind by expert persuaders and manipulators, and that these trigger words, in parentheses, like evil, mocker, sinner, and so on, get assigned to you immediately upon announcing your deconversion, and that any negative reaction to those trigger words is used to guilt trip you into coming back into Christian ideology. And then he gives a link, guilt trip, think atheist. The hardest thing of all is that when we have exposed modern man to his tension, in parentheses, of hopelessness without God, he still may not be willing for the true solution. Consequently, we may seem to leave him in a worse state than he was in before. We confront men with reality. We remove their protection and their escapes. We allow the avalanches to fall. If they do not become Christians, then indeed they are in worse state than before we spoke to them. Francis Schaeffer, The God Who Is There, at the end of chapter 2. 22. I am angry that many apologetics books, especially those written by presuppositionalists in the tradition of Francis Schaeffer, explicitly train apologists to push their potential converts into suicidal shame and despair in order to make them pliable for brainwashing via Christian ideology. 23. I am angry that some Christian apologists out and out lie in order to sell books, in parentheses, Frank Turek and Lee Strobel, here's looking at you, and that the aura of Christianity as fundamentally good in this culture makes them exempt from moral criticism.
This debate took place on 18th of April 2013 at Broadmoor Baptist Church, Shreveport, Louisiana, between Frank Turek and David Silverman. Please, as always, watch the whole debate and then research the claims and points made by both participants and myself, and only then make up your mind. I wanted to bring you my opinion of a couple of points here. The first, to put it bluntly, is Frank Turek lying.
Look it up where? You give me a reference that where we've explained the naturalistic origin of DNA, and I will admit to everyone that you are right. You find me a reference.
Richard Dawkins, River Out of Eden.
He's explained DNA.
Richard Dawkins, River Out of Eden.
You get me the reference. Richard Dawkins is saying that aliens brought life here because he knew.
He did not say that.
Yes, he did. See the movie Expelled.
Now, understand that Frank Turek is not some copy and paste Christian commentator on YouTube, and he is not some theological Twitter twatter. He is an experienced debater who researches that which he presents. He knows what Dawkins said. He knows the context in which Dawkins said it. Expelled was released in 2008, and the complaints about its deceit and interview manipulation began before its release. So Frank has had at least 5 years to keep up to date with Dawkins' views on the subject. He will, I'm almost certain, have seen Richard Dawkins' explanation of his involvement in Expelled. The movie was big news on the apologist circuit, and Frank surely cannot have failed to see the reaction from such as Dawkins, P.Z. Myers, Michael Shermer and Eugenie Scott. I'll let Richard Dawkins explain it.
And when he asked me that question, something like, could you ever imagine any kind of intelligent design, I bent over backwards to try to give intelligent design its best shot. I don't believe in that, I didn't believe in that, I never said I did believe in that, but I was trying to bend over backwards to give intelligent design its best shot.
So there is Frank Turek, in my opinion, knowingly lying for Jesus. Now, what about some dirty tricks? Here we will see Frank's willingness to dehumanize another person to make a cheap point. Whether you are a theist, deist or atheist, I hope you will recognize that the callous-hearted person is a rarity in our lives. Imagine for a moment you're out in town and visibly upset. A stranger asks you if you're okay. You say, "Oh, I'm okay, I just had to have my cat put down, that's all." How many people do you think would look at you and say, "Tough, it happens, get over it," regardless of their beliefs or non-beliefs or whether they even liked cats? I hope that we would agree that you could expect a response that showed some compassion. So let's watch this.
Sometimes babies die. Sometimes loved ones die. And sometimes there's no silver lining. Sometimes it's all bad. That's what a tragedy is. There is no solace of your baby is with heaven, with Jesus in heaven. None of that exists. With atheism, it's just a matter of I'm here for you.
You would agree with most of that, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, that's what, I mean, if you're an atheist, what do you say to somebody if your baby dies of cancer? Tough.
Tough. Do you actually think that Frank believes what he just said, or is he lying about the reaction he could expect to try to defend an absurd position concerning morality without God?
Frank, and we've kind of dealt with this, but if this is the question, if you want to go to it in a little more detail, if God is all powerful,
really rude, man.
I hope you heard David Silverman say, "That was real rude, man," because it was. Is this the level that Christians are prepared to stoop to make a point? I want to move on to absurdity and invention.
He is all-powerful, and he hasn't removed evil yet, but he will. Actually, he won't remove it, he'll quarantine it. That's exactly what hell is. In hell, you'll have free will.
In hell, you will have free will. I hope that you understand what Frank is saying here by omission. He is saying that in heaven you will not have free will. In the perfect heaven that God has prepared for us, we will not have free will. You might then ask why God did not simply create earth without free will. Earth would then be heaven, and there would be no necessity for any creature to have ever suffered. Frank can answer that.
What I'm saying is the entrance of evil into the universe was a result of free choice. And the reason we had free choice was because that's the only way we could have love, but this also creates the possibility for evil.
Hang on, Frank. The only way we can have love is if we have free will, but there will be no free will in heaven. So from where will the love in heaven come? Unfortunately, David's missed that point each time Frank made it. We move on. Why doesn't God simply remove the evil from the world? If God knows who is going to heaven and knows which souls are headed downstairs and which are headed upstairs, what is he waiting for?
Because some people haven't been born yet, that's why.
But he already has the souls. Why go through this whole exercise?
No, it's not a matter of souls. It's going to be a resurrected physical body ultimately, but that's another thing.
It's going to be a resurrected physical body. A physical body in a non-physical heaven? We all get a new body? Do we get to choose? Oh no, I forgot. No free will in heaven. Of course, Frank doesn't actually address the point at all. Regardless of whether we get a new body or not, doesn't answer why God cannot forgo the pain and suffering and simply move those he knows are going to heaven up there right now, with or without their bodies, and send the rest south for eternity into the fires of hell.
Okay. God does what we would do if we were truly loving. He would leave us alone if we don't want him.
And
that's
send
what
us
God
to a lake of fire
does.
because he loves us so much.
The lake of fire. These are all metaphors for separation from God.
Oh, wait a second. A metaphor. So Frank uses the literal resurrection of the body, but chooses to believe that the fires of hell are a metaphor. He has nothing upon which to base his declaration apart from his own personal interpretation of the Bible. My frequent flyers will know that I am reading a book on hell from the 1st to the 20th century, which shows how the belief and promotion of hell has evolved as society has evolved.
No.
The lake of fire is very real to some Christians.
Yes, it's real. The question is, what's its physical nature? And that's the question.
A lake of fire.
How can you have outer darkness and fire at the same time?
How can you have outer darkness and fire at the same time? Oh, come on, really, Frank. You already know how to explain away anything which is physically impossible in the real world.
"24. I am angry that belief in Christianity has caused many to think the world is going to end in catastrophe and they'll go to heaven as part of God's plan, making them less concerned about trying to save this world for their children. In parentheses, God's got it under control and he's planning on getting rid of it anyway. This especially inhibits itself in thoughts on global warming." And then he has a link. "Limbaugh, if you believe in God, then intellectually you cannot believe in man-made global warming." 25. I am angry that many Christians simply wear the title without taking the Bible seriously, because they are part of the reason there is so much misery among the confused people who actually do try to live by it. If you don't take the Bible seriously as a Christian, just be honest and leave the religion, instead of despairing those who do take it seriously. Then he has a link. 1 in 4 believers are Christians in name only, according to survey. 26. I am angry that today's evangelism programs teach social pressure as opposed to doctrine as the primary motivator of conversion. The whole campaign to focus on relationships as opposed to doctrine seems to me, upon closer examination, manipulation. A tool to control people that needs very little attachment to doctrine. Indeed, doctrine is often demeaned and discouraged in more liberal, evangelistic churches, leaving the church to be a unit of specialists in creating cults of social control. And then he has a link. Why he's not emergent by someone who used to be. John Stonestreet, The Point, Summit Ministries. 27. I am angry that children who don't believe in God have to lie and say they do when they go to school just to keep from getting bullied. 28. I am angry at the witch trials that are still going on in Africa as a result of the Bible today.
Groups like the United Nations and Save the Children say there is truly an epidemic of child witchcraft accusations going on right now in the Democratic Republic of Congo, an epidemic that is raging in the name of Jesus. We were able to get inside some of these churches where young children endure unspeakable things. It's hard to look into the little faces of 8-year-old Bobby and his 6-year-old brother Enoch and imagine that they're possessed by evil spirits. But that is exactly what you are about to see them accused of. This pastor, the man with the pictures of Jesus on his robe, goes into a trance and, speaking in what he says is the voice of the Holy Spirit, he tells the boy's stepmother, "I see that witchcraft is in these two." They look like beautiful, nice little boys to me. Their stepmother clearly believes the pastor. She tells us the boys have been stealing their stepsister's blood to use to fly at night. Are you boys scared? They are barely responsive and clearly traumatized. Bobby and Enoch are the latest victims in a massive, malignant trend here in the Democratic Republic of Congo. We go from church to church where we see Christian pastors accusing scores of children of being witches. Parents then pay the pastors to perform often violent exorcisms. There are reports of kids being beaten, burned, starved, and even murdered. We witnessed the exorcism of this clearly malnourished 8-year-old girl named Noella. Even though this exorcism is mild by Congolese standards, this video is too graphic to show you. Afterwards, you can read the shame and confusion on her face. You just let that man do some things that clearly hurt your child. Why did you do that? It had to happen this way, she says, because the child is accused of witchcraft. For the cure, the pastor is asking $50 in a country where the average annual salary is $100. You're wearing a picture of Jesus Christ on your robe here. Do you think he would approve of what you're doing? He says he doesn't see why Jesus would be unhappy. He's just using the gift given to him by the Holy Spirit. Isn't what you're doing here child abuse as a way to just make money for yourself? It's a money-making scheme that involves ruining the lives of kids. You think that's funny? I don't do it for the money, he insists, but then he asks us for money. So after all this, he's asking us for money? I'm not going to contribute to child abuse. So why is this happening? Experts say the phenomenon is the result of a toxic mix of causes, including decades of war, an economy in collapse, and of course, greedy, ruthless pastors. And once a child is exorcised, the ordeal is often not over. Save the Children estimates that 70% of the roughly 15,000 street kids in the city of Kinshasa were kicked out of their houses after being accused of witchcraft.
Anything authorities can step in and do about this?
I'll tell you what, we went to the head of child welfare for the Congolese government. He told us if a child has dark eyes or a big belly, that child is usually a witch.
That's what they said.
That is what the government told us.
All right, Dan, thank you for not giving him a dime.
29. I am angry at the Christian participation in Rwanda, which was the most Christian nation in Africa when the Rwandan genocide occurred, parentheses, and angry at the Old Testament for giving them the idea. And then he has a link. The Catholic Church must apologize for its role in Rwanda's genocide. Chris McGreal. 30. I am angry at the fact that 40% of Americans will simply not vote for an atheist simply because she would be an atheist. Then he has a link. Gallup, atheists, Muslims see most bias as presidential candidates. 31. I am angry that you can post all the derogatory things about atheists and the happy things about God that you want to on Facebook. But the moment you are equally honest about your atheist stance, then you're seen as disrespectful, both by people who agree with you and those who don't.
This is Miss Littleton, an elementary school teacher who's obviously at the heart of this issue. Tell me, Miss Littleton, can you please explain what's involved with these atheist chants the kids are saying in school?
Sure. Every morning before class begins, the children bow their heads and repeatedly proclaim that there is no God. God doesn't exist. There is no God. Faith is bullshit. There is no God. You get the idea.
But what do you think about the parents of little Susie Smith, a Christian family who doesn't think atheist chants should be a school activity?
Fine. If they don't want their daughter to say atheist chants, then she can go wait out in the hall while all the well-behaved atheist children say their chants in peace. Why should she get to disrupt everyone else? They can choose to raise Susie like an animal if they want, but don't try to impose that kind of immorality on my children. It's no wonder kids start vandalizing, fighting, and joining gangs and such. It's because they stopped saying their atheist chants in school. What's next? They'll tell us that we can't read the Atheist Manifesto in class.
Hello, sir. We're from the First Atheist Meeting Hall of his newly appendage. Have you heard the good news? There is no God.
Excuse me? What did you just say to me? Did you actually just say happy holidays to me? Unbelievable. It's have a merry there's no God day. Got it? Ugh. I am so offended by this. I will not be coming back here again. No, wait. On second thought, why should I have to go? It's you that shouldn't be coming back here again. You should be fired. I want to talk to your manager right now.
Look, America is based on atheist values, and American laws should reflect atheist values. It would be a disgrace to our nation if we allowed religious people to get married. I don't want my tax dollars supporting their immorality. The Atheist Manifesto clearly states in 1 Sagan, chapter 8, verse 13, marriage shall be between one atheist and one atheist. The last time I checked, America is a democracy. That means the majority rules. And the majority doesn't think religious people should be allowed to get married. We voted, we won, get over it.
Right. Why are these religious nuts against democracy anyway? Obviously, they're socialist, communist, Stalinist, Marxist, fascist, SS, brown shirt, Gestapo, Nazi, Hitler Nazis.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under atheism, indivisible, with liberty and justice for some.
Hello, ma'am. Have you lost God?
Nazi, 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 Nazi. Hitler.
32. I am angry that people don't understand why the Christian story seems so ridiculous because they've been brainwashed with it for most of their lives. Many, though of course not all, are taken from a young age and trapped in the ideology until they die 70 years later, and that makes me upset.
How many Christians here tonight? All right, really? Hardcore? No, not hardcore. You made your own Christianity. Yeah. I mean, I'm not busting on you. That's what people do. If you just never heard of the Bible, how old are you? 32. No one you know ever heard of the Bible? You never heard of the Bible? Never talked to you? You were just walking through a used bookstore today and stumbled across the Bible like a pioneer. Little Lewis and Clark, and you're thumbing through it while you're taking a shit. Yeah, you can read anything while you're taking a shit, right? They put out, okay, let's say they put it on the back of fucking Captain Crunch. How about that? Right? Read anything on the back of Captain Crunch. How quick would you recognize that as true? would you go, hey, this is exactly what I was looking for? Yeah, the fucking flood and the ark, and yeah, this sounds incredibly true. You'd throw it in the trash, would you not? If you've never, that's why they have to pump it into your head when you're still little, and you get a soft spot, and you're Santa Claus eligible, and they fucking pump it all in there then, well, you don't know any better, and then they cork it in there with a whole bunch of fear, and what you do, where you go, I'm not hardcore, you made your own Christianity. What your brain does is it fucking, you believe all the parts that don't affect your life at all. I believe in heaven, I believe Jesus, and the resurrection, yeah, sure. But the parts that affect your instincts directly, which is your real God, if you think about it. Your fucking brain grows around that like a club foot. You go, oh, we have to adapt here. No, I believe in Garden of Eden and all that, yeah. Oh, premarital sex? No, I think that was a typo. That's open to interpretation. But I believe in Noah, sure. And yeah, love thy neighbor to an extent, except for that fuckhead up in 3B who plays Beastie Boys till 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna poison his fucking dog if it doesn't stop barking. But the Bible was written before Beastie Boys were around, so it's open to interpretation. You don't believe it. You don't. And this is how I know that those people, because every time you see a tragedy, whether it's 9/11 or a bus goes into a lake or a fucking grandma spontaneously combusts, whatever it is, you see people on the news and they're whining like cunts and they go, it's horrible, it's terrible, and it's tragic. But at least he's in a better place now. He's with Jesus. Then why are you crying? Why are you crying? If you with all of your faith, your depth of your soul believes that your loved one is dancing around on a fluffy cloud in an everlasting paradise for all of eternity without a care in the world, happier than pinworms in a baby's stool, why are you crying? You should be ecstatic if you really believe it. You should be calling all your friends on the phone. Did you hear the great news? Lightning struck my baby. Yeah, he's in a better place. God picked him. I told you he was adorable. Yeah. God spared him that average 72-year sentence on this shithole planet. Do you really believe that death leads to eternal bliss? Then why are you wearing a seatbelt? Because you're just not sure.
33. I am angry that most Christians vote against secular help for the poor from government, making religious charities in charge of who gets fed and who does not. 34. I am angry at the numerous stories I have heard of atheist children who were told by religious teachers and religious peers that their parents were going to hell, causing tear-jerking grief.
Why would a God just leave us dying and doing nothing nowhere? Why would a God do that? So there is a God.
Christian, stop yelling at me.
There is proof.
Quit yelling.
Good.
Why are you getting mad about this?
Because
why can't mommy? Hey,
God.
Why can't? Hey, come here. Come here.
No
Chill out. Calm down.
There is a God.
Calm down. Why can't mommy have her own opinion on this?
Well, then you're gonna go to darn hell.
Why do you think I'm gonna go to hell? Because who told you that?
If you go to hell,
who told you that? Who told you that? Come here. Come here to me. Who told you that? Who told you? Christian.
If you're not Christian, you have to go to hell. Because you don't believe in God.
Christian, stop yelling. Stop getting so upset. We're going to stop talking about this now. Okay? Fine.
Believe what you want to believe.
Okay, I will.
I don't care.
Okay, good. It shouldn't matter. It should. What?
You had to go to the gate of hell because you're not a Christian. You don't believe in God. Wait a second.
What?
Whenever you give me a name, that's what God names me.
That's what I named you. I gave you that name.
Well, then why am I the same? Why am I the same name as God's
People?
Yes. I wonder what.
That's just a name.
Huh?
That's just your name. Why can't you let Mommy believe what I want to believe?
Because I don't want you to go to hell. Do you know what it's like there?
No, do you? Have you ever been there?
I know. Freaking demons tearing off your darn skin.
Christian, come here.
And killing you. And you're going to be flaming and flying.
Why do you think God would do that to people? Because why? Come here.
I don't know. Because they don't believe in him. And they need
Well, why is that justification? Why is that?
There is a God.
But you.
Why would he just leave us here if there has to be a God? Because who created this earth? Who created the moon? Who created the sun? And who created the stars?
I just told you you'll learn about it when you're in biology class. Because I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a scientist. I don't know.
Who created the whole sun? It is a big star that is flaming. God can do that. He can make it hot.
Christian.
Look.
Quit being so. Hey! Quit being so loud before our neighbors think we're nuts.
Going to go to hell if you don't believe in God.
No, I'm not.
God? Why would a God just leave us laying there in our graves, dying?
What?
Leave
Because.
us sleeping and doing nothing.
Can somebody please help me answer these questions?
Fine. Believe what you want to believe. I don't care.
Good.
You're going to the gate of hell.
No, I'm not.
See you there.
Fine. Bye. Bye. Love you, son.
35. I am angry that one of the ways slavery was, and still is, justified is that it at least taught us Negro heathens Christianity. 36. I am angry at the social stigma many single mothers receive because of the Bible's false sense of morality. 37. I am angry that the same people who see obvious problems with taking the Bible literally have no problem with it being given to people raw overseas. 38. I am angry that Christianity encourages people to rejoice in their suffering, often making them feel guilty for feeling deep pain, hurt, and or anger. And then he has a link. The Psychology of Apologetics, Sin/Deconversion. 39. I am angry for Christianity moralizing the position people are in life. Those who make good money often are more respected than those who do not because they are blessed by God, and God supposedly puts every person where they are supposed to be. I am further angry that many of the more wealthy Christians deny this, while not denying it every time they talk about how God has blessed them so richly with a nice house and a good income, and so on, in a way that bolsters their standing before other people. And then he has a link. Boasting Blessings by Kathy Mitchell and Marcy Sugar on Creators.com, a syndicate of talent. 40. I am angry with the fact that wealthy individuals in churches can and do pay to control their churches and, by extension, the people in them. And then he has a link. It doesn't really have a title, it just basically says Influencing the Influential. I will put the links below. This is the end of part 2. because it's going to have videos in it. It's going to be really long. If you've been watching, thanks. Bye.